So as you can see, he's coming around and he's bombing the ship, and you're actually doing really well at it. And as I said that, you just crashed into the mast and turned into a fireball. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Recreating the Disasters, and today we're focusing on the Cap Arcona. So yeah guys, let's get into the video. Now as always, Jlkillen, do you want to give us some background as to what the Cap Arcona was?
Yeah, so the SS Cap Arcona, named after Cape Arcona on the island of Rügen, was a large German ocean liner, later a ship of the German Navy, and finally a prison ship. She was the flagship of the Hamburg South America line. She made her maiden voyage on October 29, 1927, carrying passengers and cargo between Germany and the east coast of South America, and in her time was the largest and quickest ship on the route. In 1940, the Kriegsmarine requisitioned Cap Arcona as an accommodation ship. In 1942, she served as the set for the German propaganda feature film Titanic. In 1945, she evacuated almost 26,000 German civilian refugees from East Prussia before the advance of the Red Army.
Alright, so thank you Jlkillen, and yeah, that brings us up to where we are now. And speaking about that, where are we going to be going, and what are we going to be doing on this voyage?
The Cap Arcona would head and anchor in the Bay of Lübeck in the Baltic Sea, holding several thousand prisoners, including many from several concentration camps.
Alright, so with that not so happy news, let's go ahead and let's set sail. Alright, so as you can see, we have set sail, and we aren't going to be sailing for very long, as we're only going to be anchoring outside of the port, more of in the bay. So yeah, it's going to be a very short voyage. Alright, so this should be good. I'm going to go ahead and stop the ship. There we go. And now we are stopped. Well, unfortunately, a thunderstorm has rolled in, but that's not going to stop us. And I do have to mention that this ship does look pretty similar to a couple of other ships. And what are those?
Yeah, the ship actually looks pretty similar to the Leviathan, which is actually another German ocean liner, and the Belgian one as well.
Yeah, especially with the three funnels and the way that the layout of the superstructure is, it is really similar to those ships. And, yeah, now we're just waiting for the sun to rise, and then we'll get on with the actual event that ended up sinking the Cap Arcona. And there's the sun gleaming over the horizon there. And now, in a moment or two, we should be getting into the actual disaster, and just in time, the thunderstorm has, well, cleared up. Now, Jlkillen, do you want to mention what was going on with the ship while it was anchored in the bay, and what would eventually lead up to the disaster or the sinking of the ship?
Yeah, in the early morning of May 3rd in 1945, a supply cutter came alongside the Cap Arcona to deliver drinking water. The supply cutter remained docked next to the ship. A little later, there was a transport of an additional 205 prisoners on the Neustadt from Mittelbau-Dorha, an auxiliary camp of Buchenwald, who had to board the passenger ship and were housed in the luggage compartment. Shortly after, with several thousand prisoners still on board, the Royal Air Force bombed her in the Baltic Sea, killing about 5,000 people. The aircraft consisted of squadrons a part of number 184, number 193, number 263, number 197, and number 198. Besides 4 20mm cannons, these Hawker Typhoon Mark 1B fighter bombers carried either 8 HE 60-pound RP-3 unguided rockets or 2 500-pound bombs.
So yeah, at this point, I believe we should be able to see you shortly. I'm not sure where you are. Are you approaching?
I think so. I need to find you first.
Oh, there you are. Hello. Oh, wow, you actually just dropped the bomb. Yeah, it landed right on the deck. So as you can see, he's coming around and he's bombing the ship, and you're actually doing really well at it. And as I said that, you just crashed into the mast and turned into a fireball. Now, the explosions that resulted from the bombs actually, well, exploding on the deck actually ended up starting fires on the ship. And there's a photo of the ship engulfed in flames, or, well, somewhat engulfed in flames, and burning while people are in the water. Now, there is an unfortunate fact that I believe came from a journal or some sort of writing from one of the pilots who was flying over and participating in the attack of the Cap Arcona. And what was it?
Yeah, so RAF pilot Alan Wise of number 193 Squadron recalled, "We used our cannon fire at the chaps in the water. We shot them up with 20mm cannons in the water. Horrible thing, but we were told to do it and we did it. That's war."
So yeah, this was not a pretty sight whatsoever. And most of the people that actually died were not in the water, they were actually in the ship. When the ship went down, there were people inside of it, and they really didn't have a means of escape. They were prisoners after all, and while some were able to escape, not everybody could, and eventually the ship would roll over and take a lot of those people down with it, and we'll get into that very shortly.
Unfortunately, all of the prisoners were concealed below deck, so the pilots in the attacking force were unaware that they were laden with concentration camp survivors, and ultimately destroyed the ship thinking it held escaping German soldiers.
So it's really hard to find the words to describe how awful this event was. This was pretty horrific, and it wasn't the most horrific sinking, but it certainly was a horrific sinking nonetheless. So let's go ahead and let's, well, recreate it here. We've got the bombs dropping, and now I'm going to go ahead and use sync by simulation in the game to show the ship actually rolling over and sinking. So now the ship is on fire, it's rolling over to the starboard side, and yeah, at this point, this is it. And there it goes. You can see some boats are getting away. I'm not sure if boats got away in reality, but as you can see, the ship is now rolling over pretty substantially at this point. Now here we're in pretty deep water, but in reality they were in somewhat shallow water, and the ship sort of just stayed on its side. It landed on the bottom, and you can actually see photos of the ship after this horrific sinking, and yeah, it just sort of is on its side and destroyed. So yeah, there goes the ship. It is going down, and we're about to see a bottom here, and yeah, there it goes. It is going to land on its side, and actually it might land in its own engines here. Obviously this didn't happen in real life, but there it goes, and it actually shot out the engines there. So yeah, that is what remains of the ship. As you can see there, it's pretty rusted and, well, on the bottom. Now, how many people actually survived? We know how many died, but how many were able to escape and survive this sinking?
Yeah, so only 350 of the 5,000 former concentration camp inmates aboard Cap Arcona survived. More than 2,000 further casualties were recorded from the sinkings of the accompanying vessels of the prison fleet, the Jlkillen and the Theelbeck. This was one of the largest single-incident maritime losses of life in the Second World War.
So there it is, the destruction and sinking of the Cap Arcona. If you guys have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and a comment, and I'll see you all next time, guys. Goodbye.